Hi, welcome to my channel. My name's Chance, and today I'm going to be reviewing Courtisans. So in Courtisans, players are going to be competing to align themselves with various families of the kingdom, and hopefully those families are going to be exalted with the queen and not fallen from grace. So let's do a quick rules overview for this game. It's a really light game, so I'm going to cover most of the rules in this game in this video. So to start the game, players are going to be dealt 2 objective cards. There's 2 decks for the objective cards, a blue deck and a white deck here. Players are going to get 1 card from each of those decks. These are going to give them a little bit of an asymmetric start from the other players, and we're going to come back to these later because this is something I love about this game. Then players are going to be dealt 3 cards each. So they're going to be dealt 3 cards each from the main deck. Then to start the game, the first player is just going to play those 3 cards. Where that player can play those cards is by playing it in their own tableau, playing it in a friend's tableau, or maybe an enemy's tableau, we'll get more to that later as well, or to the queen's table. So you can play a card above or below the queen's table. So here I have a partially completed game, so I have some cards already out here, and so the game's kind of midway through the progress point. Now, playing a card to the queen's table is kind of the point where you're trying to say which families are going to be exalted or fallen from grace. So a family that has more cards above the queen's table than below the queen's table is going to be considered exalted at the end of the game, and each one of those cards is going to be worth +1 point for that family in your own tableau. Now, if they have more cards below than above, that family is considered fallen from grace, and they're going to be worth -1 point per card of that family in your own tableau. And that's going to be one of the primary scoring objectives in the game. The other one is your own personal objective cards. So like I said, we're going to come back to these more later, but just to give you an example, like this one says you must own less carps than your left neighbor. Carps is one of the families, so that's the blue over here. And then here we have one that says the hares must be fallen from grace. And those objective cards are going to be worth 3 VP each if you manage to pull them off by the end of the game. Now there's only one more thing that I need to teach you, and that's the special cards in this game. So there's going to be 5 types of cards for each family. There's going to be the basic card, which has no special abilities with it. There's the noble, which is going to be a ×2, so wherever that card is placed, it's going to be worth 2 cards instead of 1. Then the assassin, which can assassinate any card from whatever tableau it's put into. So if you put it in your own tableau, you can kill one of your own cards, maybe try to eliminate some of those negative points that are building up during the game. You can put it in a friend's tableau, once again, or an enemy's, and kill one of their cards, or put it at the queen's table and eliminate any card at the table, regardless of if it's above or below. And then we have the guard. Now the guard is the card that is protected from the assassin, so assassins can't kill the guards. Then finally, the one that's always the hardest to explain in this game, it's going to be the spy. So the spy is the only card that's going to be played face down. So wherever you play this is going to be played face down and will remain face down for the remainder of the game. Even if that card is assassinated, it'll go into the discard pile face down so no one will know what family it belonged to. Now, if you place the spy at the queen's table, we can see here at the queen's seat, there's actually a spy talking to the queen, and there's a little symbol for the spy. That means you're going to place your spy above or below the queen's table, not in its respective family, face down. That way no one knows which family that one's associated with. Then at the end of the game, that's when we're going to reveal all the spies, and then the spies that are below the table are going to be assigned to their respective families, and then same with the spies above the table. They'll be put into their respective families. So that can be something that can kind of swing the scoring at the very end of the game. Now that's going to do it for the rules teach. So let's get into the things that I really like about this game. First thing to call out is just the production, because the production is it's a standout in this game. Absolutely amazing. Pandasaur is kind of knocked out of the park with this one. Let's just look at those cards I had out with the special abilities earlier with the spy and the guard and everything. And so we can see that these cards, they have that gold foil on them. They're kind of the tarot size cards. And while the art, it's going to be the same person for the family, so not a whole lot of variation there, but we can see there are some details added. So like the noble here, the person gets a crown. For the assassin, the person's now holding a knife. For the guard, we got a shield, and then for the spy, they're wearing that spy mask. So I think the details in this are really neat and really well done. And then finally, we have this game board. This game board is it's a cloth mat and just looks amazing. Like it is a dinner at the queen's table, really well done. I like the details in here with the various various family members. Like the toad here looks like he's just groaning and having a terrible time at this dinner, while he's sitting next to the what is this, the sparrow family or whatever, and he's trying to sing to him, and yeah, he's not having it. So I really like the details of the art on this one. I will admit that this is the first game board that I ironed, because right out of the box, this thing is pretty wrinkly and does not want to lay flat on the table. So if you do buy this game, I highly recommend giving this a nice little ironing just to flatten this guy out. Now, just a little tip on that one, I ironed from the back side. I did not iron on the front because I wasn't sure how this art would hold up to the heat, so just be careful if you are going to do that. So while the production was fantastic, I do want to call out the next thing I like, which is actually getting into the gameplay. First up is these goal cards. So these are a really nice touch to add kind of interesting decisions in this game. These goals give players a slight asymmetry in how they value the different families in the game. And I think that's super important in like a bidding or an auction game. And this is kind of adjacent to a bidding game, because you're placing these cards down above or below the table and trying to put your bids in for which family is going to be scoring positively or negatively at the end of the game. So in that way, this kind of lands a little bit in that bidding category. Now, in those bidding games, if everyone has the same value for everything in the game, then it can fall kind of flat. Like that would mean once someone puts a card above the table, well, then it kind of makes sense for other people to just kind of follow suit and just go for those positive points. Now, with this one, it gives you that slight information disparity between players. So here I have like, you must own less carps than your left neighbor. So carps is the blue family. This is already incentivizing you to give your left neighbor those blue cards to try to make sure you achieve this goal at the end of the game. And these goals are pretty consequential because they're +3 victory points each. And the games I've played, I would say I scored roughly between -12 to +12. Now, maybe plus or minus 2 or 3 points. That means that this 6 points you can get from objectives is significant in this game. And like I said, I think it's just really good that it gives you those slight asymmetries with what you're trying to achieve, because that means everyone's not trying to, you have a little bit of a secret objective from those other players and they can't exactly stop you from doing those things. So I think it's just a really nice touch in this simple game to give you those very simple, easy to understand objectives. Like I usually just deal these out and everyone understands what they need to deal. I don't even need to teach the objective cards. Next up is the kind of take-thatiness of this game, let's call it. This is a very minor take-that game, so you have to, when you draw the cards, you're going to play one to your tableau, one to the queen's table, and one to another person's tableau. That card you play to the other person's tableau usually is going to be negative points. Now, how you choose the other player, I think that's where things get a little more interesting, and this is where some players might not like the style of game this is. So I would say I played there's 2 different types of play that emerge out of this game. One is kind of the justice or the fairness table, or the fairness like gameplay group. Now, in that case, players tend to kind of look at the table and say, oh, it looks like you have a lot of positive points right now, you're not doing so hot, so I'm going to give the person with positive points some negative points, try to even the playing field. Basically kind of dragging everyone back to that 0 point, right? And essentially your goal in that game group is try to claw yourself out of that 0 point and keep those hidden objectives very closely guarded so you can try to achieve those and kind of swing into the lead at the very end. That's a good way to play this. I enjoy it. Like, that's totally great. It is, I think it's fantastic. Like, I always enjoy playing that game. But there's another type of play that kind of emerges out of this, and that's the pile-on gameplay. Now, this is where some people are not going to enjoy this because that can kind of suck in a game, and I agree. Like, if I'm playing for an hour and a half or 2 hours and there's just like 3 players piling on one person and knocking them down so they have no opportunity to win, that can be a very bad experience. But this game, box says 20 minutes, and I think that's pretty close to accurate. 20 minutes is, I would say, what I usually play this in, even at about the full max player count of 5. Like, it is a very solid 15-20 minute game. And that pile-on effect, I always find it entertaining when it happens in this. It's usually like, oh, I'll give that person a red card. Those are some mega points. Next player is like, oh, he gave you a red card. Here's another red card. Have fun with that. And then the third person will be like, everyone's giving you red cards, so here, I'm gonna give you another red card. And then that person's just like getting piled on with all these negative points. They're like, how am I gonna dig myself out of this hole? And you have to kind of try to figure out, or just hope that you get like that assassin card to try to like knock out somebody in the fallen from grace area, to try to turn the tide in your favor for that family. Everyone's just piling onto you, but there's low odds of you being able to pull that off. Overall though, everyone tends to have a really good laugh at this. It's usually a good chuckle because this game you can just kind of reset and do again. And I really enjoy that experience, but I do want to call it out because that kind of dumping on someone, that can happen, and it really is going to depend on your group. If you absolutely hate that as being a possibility, that's there with this one. But I always find it with these quick games where you have that kind of, those interesting social dynamics that kind of emerge out of these games, I always find that fun. Now, the last thing I'll mention is the only negative in this game, and that's going to be the randomness. So on your turn, you're just going to be drawing 3 cards, playing 3 cards, right? That means you don't have a whole lot of control. You don't have a long-term horizon on what you're able to achieve. Like, you have those 2 goals that you can go for, but you may not draw any of the cards you need to kind of control those outcomes, which can definitely be a bit of a downside with this one. But it's this game where it's just very tactical. It's very, you draw those 3 cards, you just got to figure out what is the best thing I can do with these 3 cards right now. And that's what I really enjoy about this. But some people are just going to hate the fact that they really don't have much control over the outcome of this game. And like I said, this game shines as more of a social experience, not so much as one that you're trying to win. I don't think winning or losing should be what someone values in this. It's just the dynamics that you get at the table and kind of just making the best decision you can with those 3 cards you draw. So that randomness, that lack of control in the game can definitely be a bit of a turnoff in this. But if you're willing to kind of look past that and just enjoy the experience that Courtisans offers, I think this box has a lot to offer you. That's going to be it for this review. Those are kind of my thoughts on this. Overall, I highly recommend this game. I love it. It's becoming one of my go-to fillers. I love pulling it out when I can. Every group I've played it with has had a good time. I have a couple of people that are looking at buying this. So this is definitely recommended from me. It's staying in my collection, and I can't wait to bring it out again in the future. Let me know if you've had different experiences with this game or other thoughts on this one. And then, of course, as always, thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe.